All right, good morning, everybody. Margie, thank you so much, and what a wonderful event it is here, and a treat for us to have the 33rd Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, with us today. Brooke, welcome to Kansas City.
Good morning, everyone. It's a joy to be here. Thank you.
We got some questions for you, Brooke, and we hope that I want the folks to get to know you and know what's on your heart. And Brooke, maybe just share for a second, Secretary Rollins, share for a second your journey through agriculture. I bet you mentioned FFA somewhere in the long line, and tell me why agriculture in rural America is important to you and to this country.
Well, first of all, help me thank Senator Marshall for being here and getting this organized. On Friday night, I wasn't going to even be here. I just got confirmed Thursday, so thank you,
You're welcome.
Senator. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad it worked out.
And I see my FFAers right here in the front. National FFA Week. Really proud of y'all. And it seems like yesterday, by the way, I was wearing that jacket. Listen, everyone, what a joy and a blessing to be here with you all. Probably a lot of you have followed the last couple of months. On Saturday, November 23rd, my husband and I and our 4 teenagers were driving to Auburn, Alabama for the Texas A&M Auburn game. We won't talk about the score that night, but something did happen. Yeah, something did happen that changed the trajectory of my life and my family's, and hopefully agriculture in a positive way for the future. And that was the day that I got the call from President Trump asking and almost telling me that his idea was that I be basically his final significant cabinet slot, and that he and I'd worked together almost 8 years, that I was in the West Wing with him for year 2, year 3, and year 4 of the first term, running his domestic policy agenda, but that always, and he knew this, that always my heart, my background, my love has always been in agriculture and always in rural America. So that Saturday, we're driving across Mississippi in our motorhome, again, on our way to Auburn, Alabama, and the minute he called, about 15 minutes later, the news started to report it, and then I got to work. Obviously, I had to wait to get confirmed, so it wasn't a for sure thing until last Thursday at 11:15-ish, I think, Senator, when the Senate confirmed me, 72-28, I think. And then a couple hours later, I was sworn in by Justice Clarence Thomas. But what I can tell you is this, that entire game, and ever since that night, Saturday night, right before Thanksgiving, my mind and building the teams and building the plans and understanding the significant challenges facing our communities across this country, that we have lost 147,000 family farms between 2017 and 2022, that the cost of input is up 30%, that our exports are down $37 billion this year and likely to be down $42 billion in the months to come. This is a crisis, and this is something that I understand inherently. I was born in a small town, raised on a small farm, had a big family farm in Minnesota where I spent my summers on a row crop farm. But growing up in 4-H and FFA, growing up in rural America, we have got a tremendous amount of work to do. But my promise to you is this, and my commitment will never waver, that every minute of every day for the next 4 years, I will do everything within my power, with hopefully God's hand on all of us and our work, to ensure that we are not just entering the golden age for America, as my boss, President Trump, likes to say, but we are entering the golden age for agriculture. So what a joy to be here. Thank you all.
Yeah. Brooke, you shared why agriculture is important to you, your commitment to agriculture. 90% of Americans, of rural America, 90% of rural America voted for President Trump. Why is rural America important to President Trump?
I'll never forget, and maybe many of you remember where you were the minute that real estate mogul and reality TV star Donald J. Trump came down that escalator in Trump Tower in New York. At that time, I think there were 16 other Republicans running in the primary. The favorites on that day were Governor Jeb Bush of Florida and Governor Scott Walker of Wisconsin. But I'm a Texan, so we had Rick Perry in the race. Senator Ted Cruz was in the race. I think Roger Marshall may have been in the race. No, I'm just kidding. Not yet. But there was something. Most of America said, I don't think so. except rural America, from almost minute one, understood. And to think of the irony, right, of the billionaire who lives in a penthouse in New York City, that he would be the one that would come down that escalator and that would connect with the hearts and the minds of all of rural America in a way that is unprecedented, at least in our lifetime. And I think and believe so sincerely that what our people, what we who are from rural America and from the ag community understood is that his focus of returning power to the people, that for too long, both Democrats and Republicans had been amassing and building massive government and bureaucracy, really at all levels, but especially at the federal level. And what our people wanted was just a chance at the American dream. And this real estate guy from New York City brought that vision to life. And then in the last term, was able to really do some remarkable things. I call it the great pause, the 4 years in between term one and term two. But I think what the great pause has allowed is very intentional planning. It has allowed what a courageous and bold leader in President Trump to become a fearless leader and to do everything he can to bring America back to greatness. I'll finish with this, and I think, Senator, this is where you were headed with that. In my hundreds, thousands of interactions with President Trump over the last 7.5 years. I joined his administration at the beginning of year 2 of term 1, and then launched the America First Policy Institute in the dark days of January 2021, but with the idea that those policies that made America great in the first term would continue into the future indefinitely, not just for an immediate second term, but for the conservative president in 4 years or 8 years or 36 years, that these policies would remain viable. But amongst all of it, and in all the conversations I've had with the president, including the very first phone call after I was overwhelmingly, not unanimously, but overwhelmingly approved by Senator Marshall's colleagues, that call was from President Trump. And he said, please let the farmers and the ranchers know that we are going to do everything we can to make them prosperous again. And I said, sir, we will absolutely do that. So his heart is with this community. It has always been. He understands that more than any other category, segment in society of voters, that the rural Americans are the ones who've been with him from the beginning to this day. And a 90% is just incredible.
Yeah. You know, we talk about here's words and then here's actions. I think it's time just to reflect for a second to President Trump 1.0. He used tariffs as a tool then to leverage trade agreements. We redid USMCA, and now that's our largest ag partner for the most part, between Mexico and Canada, 1A and 1B. He gave us South Korea. He gave us Japan. Our beef sales, so important to Kansas, is our cattle industry. Our beef sales through the roof with Japan, with South Korea. He gave us China 1.0 as well. And unfortunately, that's fell by the wayside as well. Let's just talk. We got 0 trade agreements done in the last 4 years. How does trade fit into your future? I know you're not the USTR, but you'll be working hand in hand with them.
I will. I think I know there's a lot of concern, legitimate concern amongst probably people in this room, I'm guessing, but across the agriculture community. And I understand that concern. And my job is to ensure that as President Trump and our trade representatives are making their decisions, that I am in the room advocating on behalf of our people, on behalf of all of you, to understand exactly where the community is and will continue to be. Having said that, I believe that one of the most important roles that I will play, and one of the roles I'm really excited about, is moving and finding and expanding market access across the world for our products out of this country. Listen, we've got the consummate deal maker in the Oval Office. I know in the last 250 years, we've not had anyone like President Trump. I am guessing for the next 1,000 years in American history, we will probably never have another Donald J. Trump. He is a very unusual, remarkable, and fearless man. But he wants to make a deal, and in the best way, and put America first. And so what I'm really, really excited about is to move out into the world, to begin representing all of you in this room and to find and expand in ways we've never seen before market access for all of our products.
Yeah, Brooke, as I think about the future, and these folks are the top producers, they want to know what's going to happen. I see India replacing China as our major trade partner as well, that China is growing. Right now, it's not fair and reciprocal. I think it's a 50% average tariffs from
That's
India,
right.
and we essentially have none. So I think there's huge opportunities in India. Anything else pop out to you, any other opportunities?
I think your point on India is right. And no offense, Senator, but if you guys had confirmed me a little bit earlier, I was planning to have a conversation with Mr. Modi, who was in the White House the day you guys were voting on me. But listen, they have a great relationship. The president, as you have noticed, again, believes so strongly, and I saw it in the last term, building relationships across the world with these world leaders, even if we don't always agree and even if there's some significant issues, but building those relationships are important. My role and my prayer and my goal is to be able to follow along behind or even follow alongside the president, including India, which I agree with you, I think is a huge opportunity for us. But as these relationships are being built, it's funny, I remember conversations in the first White House where someone would say, well, sir, before you call, insert world leader in the blank, before you call so-and-so, we need the seventh layer at the State Department to call their counterpart, and then we need to send like 15 letters, and then we need to have a couple of months, of back and forth between all the layers from the State Department, blah, blah, blah. And the president would say, that's ridiculous. Just put him on the phone with me right now. And that sort of tells you how we got so much done, I think how he got so much done. But I see a huge opportunity there in India and frankly with a lot of these partners across the world.
I just had an idea. You don't have to answer this question, but what would you think about the Secretary of Agriculture and the junior senator from Kansas and the top producers nominated tonight, including Kansas Chase Larson? Chase, are you in the audience? How about a hand for Chase as well? So congratulations, Chase, representing Kansas. Maybe a little road trip.
I think we should. I love road trips.
Yeah.
Clearly, I was on a road trip to Auburn, Alabama when I got the call. So let's make a road trip, maybe a plane trip, but not an RV trip. But yes, let's do that. And I think the more we can be out in the world, we've announced Luke Lindbergh is going to be leading. He'll be our undersecretary here. We're already building that team out. He'll be awaiting confirmation. If we can move that quickly too. Okay. But let's go barnstorm the world and let's go find some more partners and access.
Yeah. You were in Southwest Kansas yesterday. Speaking of road trips,
yes.
Kansas City today. It was a fun whirlwind. Any impressions from yesterday in Southwest Kansas? We did a feedlot. We did a dairy that's going to go from 20,000 to 40,000 head. We got
Incredible.
Our cheese factory going down there. What else? We did national beef as well.
Yeah.
Any impressions from Southwest Kansas?
Well, it was an amazing day, and we're really just getting started. Yeah. But to have that sort of experience, went into the USDA office for the first time Thursday at 5 o'clock, went back in the next morning. Then we left for Kentucky, did some farm machinery shows in Kentucky. I was in Kentucky through...
That doesn't count.
I know. The senator said that doesn't count because it wasn't this part of the country. But we had a great time there. Went home, saw my family for a little bit, then jumped right back out on the road to get here and be with you in Southwest Kansas yesterday. Listen, the opportunity to be in the country and to see firsthand what these incredible entrepreneurial American game changers are doing to feed America, but to feed the world. And I know they represent, what I saw yesterday in our day together represents a lot of what many of you in this room do as well. It's so inspiring, and it is a reminder of the very beginning of our country. I mean, our revolution was fought by farmers, our founding fathers like Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. I mean, the backbone of the great American experiment is this community. And so to see it firsthand yesterday, to have a roundtable with farmers and ranchers from around the great state of Kansas, to hear the real concerns, which I know. I mean, I'm a reader, I'm a studier. I was studied agriculture in college. I have stayed up with the times, but to hear it firsthand was incredibly important and really, really, really inspiring. not just in the good that's happening, not just in the 20,000 to 40,000 additional cows that the dairy farmers are adding, or the incredible new technology we saw at the National Beef facility, et cetera, but also inspiring in the way that I understand the real challenges at hand. And so while there are a lot of people that are discouraged, and I understand why, I am inspired more than ever when I hear those stories. Again, not just of the great things that are happening, but of the challenges ahead, because I know what I've got to go do. And I know the team that we are building to do just that and to represent all of you.
We're going to go to some Q&A here in just a second, and Margie's going to make her way up here. And there's a way you can send her questions. I don't know that. But I want to talk about one more subject because she gets ready. But think of some good questions. Madam Secretary, we've seen a record drop in net farm income. The folks out in this audience are 5th, 6th, 7th generation farmers and ranchers. The pressure is real. I've never seen so much pressure out there in ag land. A regulatory environment's tough. I'm concerned about the mental health of my farmers and ranchers. What would be your message? Give us a message of hope, and 988 is a number people could call. But mostly it's being a good neighbor, I think, to recognize that my friend, my neighbor is struggling as well. Any thoughts on the mental health of our farmers and ranchers?
I think that's a really important topic, that similar conversations are happening with our veterans and the mental health, the suicide rate. And are there two more better examples of what a real American patriot is than our veterans and our farmers? And so what we have to do as a community, I think it was Ronald Reagan that said, the government can't solve everything, and that's certainly true. The 5 scariest words in the language are, I'm here from the government, I'm here to help, but that was maybe more than 5. But having said that, I do think that a focus and a renewed interest at all levels of our elected officials, and Senator, you've been a real champion on this. I think that as we move into America's 250th birthday next year, the first event is coming soon. I don't think it's been announced yet, but we'll spend a year of celebrating. My goal is to weave the story of the American farmer throughout the next 18 months of celebration of American history, and to ensure that not only are we honoring our farmers and making sure that all of you understand that you are the backbone of this country and frankly the world, we feed the world in many ways, but that also the value and the importance and the righteousness of working the land goes back to the beginning of time. It's Old Testament biblical foundations. And so my hope and my prayer is that not only can we begin to wind that back, Senator, but that we inspire a whole new generation of those that want to go back into their rural communities, or go to the rural communities to begin with, to become workers of the land, to become ranchers and farmers. And I think that's possible. You know, we've seen with Pete Hegseth, the new Secretary of Defense, the interest in joining the military has gone exponentially up in just a couple of months. So my hope that together we can begin to inspire a whole new generation of those who would like to stay in these communities and keep working the land.
Yeah, so you all may know, but I'm an OBGYN as well, and I just wanted to coach you up a little bit, just to take a second to recognize the signs and symptoms of depression, and then you all can be that good neighbor. First of all, if you're an ag lender, ag lenders know who's under the stress, right? Who's under the gun as well. So that's a high risk person as well. And you need to recognize where the resources are beyond just calling 988. If there's community health centers in your area, those are great resources, so you don't have to go to the stigma of the mental health center as well. But basically, if you have a friend that can't sleep at night, so they're waking up at 3 in the morning, they can't get back to bed, maybe they're doing something like maybe they bought some more life insurance, or they're giving away things. Those are some signs and symptoms. Usually people that maybe they change their appearance. For guys, maybe they don't shave. A woman, she's not combing her hair anymore. And a lot of them just drop out. It's your friend, it's your neighbor who was always going to the Friday night basketball game but disappears. They were going to Sunday school, and they're not in Sunday school anymore. Yeah. Reach out to that neighbor of yours. Be a good neighbor and say, hey, let's go grab a cup of coffee. and maybe a cinnamon roll too while you're at it. But I think that it's all our job to be good neighbors. You know, out there in your own networks, you're the leaders. You're the leaders, but let's help each other out here. Margie, what do you got for us?
Well, I think I'm out of a job, Senator, because you did a beautiful job moderating that fireside. Thank you, sir. And I think the Secretary identified it. We've got American game changers in this audience, and you guys have not been afraid to ask some questions. So I will pose a few of those to you, Madam Secretary. Mostly, folks just want to say congratulations, as well as a big heap of gratitude for you being here. So thank you for that. I think the first series of questions really center around DOGE. What should we expect from American agriculture, from USDA, with the DOGE initiative, specifically to CSP and EQIP and some programs that farmers have already enrolled in?
The conservation programs, yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. DOGE is, I think, a very valid and important effort for across all of government. The stories of waste and abuse were really just, and this is not USDA specific, but across government are just beginning. You know that when we all on average work till I think end of April to pay our taxes, our federal taxes, and then the other, I mean, where is the money going? USDA has 106,000 employees, 29 different departments. It is a massive, massive agency. Of course, probably a lot of you know that almost 80% of that, maybe 81%, is the food stamp program. So it's actually not as aligned on the ag community as I hope to help realign. Not that the food stamp programs aren't important, but I see DOGE having a big job there. But as far as it relates to those programs that relate to the people in this audience, we have been working hand in hand. I've only been in the office for about half a day at this point, but we'll be back there this afternoon, and we will begin to really dive down into all of that. Our commitment is that if there has been commitments made, those will be honored. And so getting our arms around all of that right now is really, really, really important. I think that, again, going back to the president's heart and commitment to our farmers, that I feel confident that we will be able to solve any issues that are in front of our ag community that are potentially being compromised by the DOGE effort, while at the same time recognizing how very, very important it is. I think there's no question that USDA, in a lot of ways, needs some modernization. I'm just beginning to lean into that as well. So I'm really looking forward from a positive kind of on offense aspect, once we get through this initial round, to having them help us think through how to make the USDA more customer friendly and more modern as well.
Margie, really quickly, if I could add, the secretary's taken over a department where only 6% of the people are working in the office.
6% of the people go
in the DC office. And the FSA workers, the conservation officers here do an incredible job.
Yeah, that's
and as what I hear from my farmers and ranchers is we fill out the paperwork and it gets stuck in DC, and I think just moving people back, that's part of the DOGE effort to me, is let's get people back to work. They were hired to do a job, so appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Senator. That's a great point.
We've had several questions that revolve around renewable fuels. So with as one question asker said, the demise of the Inflation Reduction Act, some of those provisions around the 45Z tax credit, what should American farmers expect from sustainable renewable fuels?
I think the president has been very clear on this. I know y'all, there was some encouragement. The last administration, not quite as clear as I think the president is today. I will be very clear. I think there's probably press in the room. I have actually not spoken to him directly about 45Z and biofuels yet. Just in general, we've had conversations about how important it is to the larger energy effort and energy independence effort, which if you followed the campaign closely, and I'm guessing a lot of you did, that securing the border, energy independence, and food inflation were his top three issues most days. And so two of those directly hit, well, really three of those directly hit, all three of them, everyone in this room. So the senator and I spoke a lot about 45Z yesterday. the importance of biofuels in the larger package of energy independence, obviously the importance of that to this part of the country. All of my conversations with the senators on the Ag Committee, I think everyone except one was very interested in my, obviously, stance and willingness to go out and defend and support and honor and keep moving forward all of these important issues within the biofuel space.
I get to add something too. So remember, the first primary election of President Trump, he was the first major candidate to support biofuels to come out. And I think that carried him through Iowa in many ways. Again, he never forgets anything. I have spoken with the president about 45Z. Actually spent 2 hours with him the week before the election. Took 4 of my producers with me, and we talked about the importance of biofuels to rural America, to the American farmer as well. We've got E15 year round. I think I think gives us some certainty as well. Is that right, Brooke?
That's right. That's right.
So I think that's step one. E15 year round. The president is supporting that. And I think we're trying to figure out how to save 45Z, but we can't let China benefit from it. So right now, and we don't have time to go through it, but China is benefiting more from it than my farmers and ranchers are. So we got to fix that.
Yes, and so I want to try to squeeze in 2 more questions because another theme that's coming through is farmers want to hear about the immigration policies, how that impacts the availability for on-farm labor, and the future of a workable plan.
That was the second big issue that kept coming up. Well, really 3. Trade, one, of course, we've talked about, and then the labor. So I have a full bodied understanding of the challenges within the labor market, and I believe the president does too. We talked about it in the last administration at length. I believe that we will very soon be talking about it again. Clearly, the H-2A program needs significant reform, and Lori Chavez-Dremer, she's going through the process right now. She'll likely have her hearing, I think, tomorrow, and then hopefully get her vote very soon. That we've got a lot of work to do, and a lot of the themes from yesterday at the dairy farm, at National Beef and others, was that we can't get workers, and I think that that is a common theme across this entire community. So ensuring, again, my job, that is understood, that the president knows the challenges that you all are facing as we continue those discussions in Washington.
Yep.
Madam Secretary, you mentioned the pending Labor Secretary confirmation. You're also working with many other cabinet members. We have questions specifically regarding Secretary Zeldin at EPA, as well as Secretary Kennedy. So how do you envision working with the rest of Trump's cabinet and advocating for American agriculture?
Well, is this probably our last question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, thank you. Well done, by the way. So this is a great question to end on. Again, I don't know that anyone in this room would perhaps have followed this, but our cabinet is comprised of people that have been working together and have been friends and colleagues for years, with a few exceptions. Bobby Kennedy's a new friend, but Lee Zeldin and I worked together at America First Works and America First Policy for the last almost 4 years. Linda McMahon in education, John Ratcliffe, CIA. I mean, these are our people. And so I believe perhaps more than at any time in American history, except maybe 200 and something years ago when, all the founders went, they fought the revolution, and then they all went into the cabinet. Clearly they had fought together and been together. But that this cabinet is different, and that it is different in a way because we all know and respect each other. There will be moments of disagreement. I'm getting on a call very soon with Mr. Kennedy to discuss some potential challenges that we want to work through and then ultimately take to the president if we can't agree. But it is so collegial. None of that, my vision in all the years, that the great pause in my intervening years with President Trump, and we talked a lot, and we would start talking about, the cabinet and who he would take with him the next time and who should be around him and all the lessons learned from the first administration. And this is probably 2 years ago. I said, Mr. President, you, assuming you're going to win again, you need a cabinet and a staff that doesn't care about what the next job is. And the best ideas of our founding fathers. Back at the beginning of the country, our initial leaders and congressmen and senators would leave their farm, they'd go to Washington, they'd work for 2, 4, 6 years, and then they go back to their farm, literally. And so I told President Trump, I said, this next time, if you're giving another opportunity to serve, that is the kind of cabinet that we want to help build for you. I never thinking that I would certainly be in it at the time. I just wanted to help him think about who the best people around him that only wanted to put America first, that didn't care about the next job and the next job and the next job. And that's what we have. That's what we have. And so I so look forward. Our first cabinet meeting hasn't been announced yet, but it'll be very soon. Our first cabinet meeting is coming up. The opportunity to all work together. I just sent a text out this morning on my way here. We're going to have a cabinet Bible study at USDA probably shouldn't say when, but every week. And we are all getting together tonight in Washington. This will be an extremely close-knit group of patriots that will never stop fighting for America. And again, what an honor that my role in that group is to represent all of you in this room and our great farmers and ranchers across the country.
How about an amen?
Amen.
There you go.
Thank you all.